What's up, everybody? My name is Chris, and welcome to the Uncommon Centrist. If this is your first time here, this is a pretty brand new channel. As of right now, as I'm recording this video, I only have one other full-length video out, aside from my little promo that I shot for the channel. The first one is on death and like all the concepts surrounding it, and so definitely go check that out if that seems like something that you're interested in, hearing about. I try to come at it from every aspect of it, and from religious and non-religious points of view. So I highly recommend checking it out. Today we're going to get into something a little more controversial, and that is going to be abortion. Now, when it comes down to subjects that are really polarizing and really controversial, this is definitely one of the top. I mean, this you really can't have this conversation. It's really tough to have this conversation with an opposing party because they're so everybody is so locked into their beliefs, and I don't like that. And I think it's more nuanced. It's not just black and white. There are so many different sides to it, and different angles and different ways to see it. It's not just black and white. It's not right. It's not left. It's just there's again, it's a really touchy subject, and we're going to try to get into those today. So what I'm going to start out with is when we have words or subjects like this, I like to get into definitions. So the actual definition of abortion: the deliberate termination of a human pregnancy, most often performed during the first 28 weeks of pregnancy. So it is the deliberate termination of a pregnancy. It is the ending of a human life. So that's what we have to do, is we have to agree on what it is. It is the deliberate taking of a life, whether you're for it or against it. That is just a cold, hard fact. So what it comes down to is how comfortable are you with taking that life? Now, there's all different kinds of reasons a woman might choose to have an abortion. Maybe, of course, there are things like rape and incest, fetal abnormalities, or health conditions. There's all kinds of things. But I think where the conversation gets messed up is people on the right assume that most abortions are for a form of birth control. The numbers actually do kind of support that. From the stats that I've seen, it seems that about 23 to 25% of abortions are actually medically necessary, which means that it had to be done for the health of the mother. I think the best way to go about this is, first we have to, like I said, we have to admit what it really is. It is the deliberate taking of a life that is still in the womb. That is what it is. Whether you're for it or whether you're against it, we have to agree on the simple facts. If we can't get the facts, if we can't agree on the facts and we can't agree on reality, then there's no having the conversation. I think there has to be a clear line, and I don't know whether that line is at a stage of development or at a certain time, whether a certain number of weeks. It's just like I said, there's so many different factors at play here, but there has to be a clear line on when we can't just do it just to do it. Here's the way I say it. This is my own personal belief as far as this goes. Like I said, there has to be a line. We have to draw a line somewhere as to where up to this point you should be able to terminate that pregnancy for whatever reason. It's got to be early on. I think up until that line, it should be affordable, and it should be readily available for anybody that might want to use it. And I think up until that point, yeah, use it at just to, like, if you don't want a child, if you're not at a spot in your life where you're ready for a child, take care of it early. Don't let it develop. It's just there's no point in it. Why let it get to a certain point? Why I don't understand why we need to have abortions that are available up until the time of birth. That blows my mind. And where do we draw that line? Is it the heartbeat? Is it the baby's movement? Is it a certain time? All development doesn't happen in the same exact timeline. I get that. But we have to draw a line. It can't just be a free for all. You can't just decide 8-9 months into a pregnancy that you want to terminate it. It's just no. And at that point, it is murder. I'm sorry, whether you agree with me or not. I know this video is going to get a lot of blowback. I fully expect it. And then we have the religious versus secular aspect of it. So the religious right is of the mindset that at the moment of conception, that is a life and you can't terminate it. I think that is just completely it's a backwards way to look at it. Yeah, I will give it one thing. Okay, so the development of that life does begin at conception. Obviously, the egg is fertilized, and then at that point, a process starts, and it starts to develop. Totally respect that. Totally agree with it. But I do think up until a certain point, it needs to be readily available for that pregnancy to be terminated. But like I said, it's got to be early. It's got to be We have to figure out that line. Myself, I am not religious. I'm atheist, agnostic, whatever you want to call it. I'm just not sure. But what I'm not is religious. I don't follow any religion. I used to be. Well, I grew up and went to church all the time then, but I kind of left that behind me at a certain point, and I'm pretty pro-life, and I know other atheists who are also of the same mindset that I am. I even some that are more strict and go more with the religious right on the fact that life starts at conception and that you shouldn't be able to get an abortion at any point. I don't agree with that. That's just me. But politics is, I think, where we get this polarization from. It seems we're in a time right now where it's so polar opposite on every single subject that you could think of. The right has this hard stance here, the left has this hard stance here, and there's no fighting it, and there's no discussion to be had because everybody is convinced of their own righteousness. Everybody's convinced that they are correct and that the other is evil. The right says that the left is evil because they just want to kill babies. Of course, that's bullcrap. And then the left says that the right is evil because they want to control women's bodies. And again, that's just so illogical and so wrong. We can't look at it that way. If you look at it that way, then we're missing what the facts actually are, and you're just demonizing the other. But like I said, that has become that way in every single topic in political conversation. Everything. If the right says one thing, then the left is completely against it. If the left says one thing, then the right is completely against it. And it's just so bad now. I'm 38 years old almost, and I've never seen anything like it. It blows my mind how we can just throw logic out just for the sake of tribalism. And I believe a lot of that stems from the people in your tribe. There's so much pressure there for you to please the people in your tribe, in your group, that if you don't, then they're going to other you and say that you're part of the other side. And I think that's what political discourse has turned into. And in some circles, we're not even calling this abortion anymore. We're calling it reproductive rights. I'm sorry, that's not the way to frame it. It is what it is. It's not reproductive rights. You're able to have sex with whoever you want to. You're able to choose to have protected or unprotected sex, and there are things like Plan B. You know what I mean? There's so many different things available for this not to be a reproductive rights issue, which it is not. It is turned into that because of political polarization, because you want to demonize the other. You want to say that they're trying to control you or to control your uterus. Get your laws off of my body. That is the stupidest argument I've ever heard. Get your laws off of my body. I really? Every single law is on every single body, period. That's what laws are. Laws say you follow this law, this is going to happen to you if you don't. All laws are laws on everybody's body. So just that's something to make it seem like a like the patriarchal, like the men are trying to control the women. No, that's not it. I know plenty of women who are pro-life, who are completely against abortion. My own wife is one of them. She's harder against it than I am. I at least say that there should be a time limit, a window for you to make that decision. She really doesn't think that way. I'm trying to convince her, when we have talks about it, I'm trying to convince her that it would be better all around, because then you don't have unwanted pregnancies. Then yeah, you can put the baby up for adoption, but if you don't have to be in that position to put a baby up for adoption, because that's going to have, I know kids that were, put up for adoption that were orphans or in foster care, and it really does mess with their mind, and they are at a disadvantage in life, in my opinion. So I think if that can be avoided, then we should avoid it. So you have the left saying that it's all about reproductive rights, and then you have the right saying that you're a murderer, you're a baby killer, and we can't have the conversation that way. There has to be more nuance to it. It's not black and white. It's not left or right. It's a life, and we have to decide how we feel about that life. How do we feel about taking that life? And again, there should be options early on in the pregnancy. 100% agree. I am pro-choice up until wherever we figure that where that arbitrary line is, wherever we figure out that line needs to be. Up until there, do whatever you got to do in the pregnancy. Don't bring an unwanted baby into the world, but don't wait until 9 months down the road to make that decision. At that point, you are an asshole. At that point, you are murdering a child, and that's when we call it murder. That's when let me say that's when I call it murder. Some people just do it, if you have an abortion period, then you're a murderer. We can't have the conversation like that. It's I just the polar opposite of all these subjects, and the political opposition, and bringing in and demonizing each other just for the sake of pleasing your tribe is just it is beyond comprehension for me. Then we have celebrities like glorifying, and I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want to bring any more attention to these idiots who are encouraging abortion. Like, oh, I am so glad I had my abortion. That's what I got to say to you. There used to be a saying, and this used to be a left position. This used to be a Democrat position where abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. I'm with that. I'm not a lefty. I'm not a righty. I'm pretty much down the middle. But that's such a logical way to look at it that it blows my mind that that's not how anybody looks at it anymore. That's not even on the table. That's not even on the table anymore. It should be allowed at any point, for any woman, for any reason, all the way up until birth. In some places, I want to say it was Virginia, where they're trying to get this after birth or post birth abortion. Are you kidding me? That's not abortion. That is literally homicide. And I know a lot of you are looking at me just steamy right now because who is this man? Who is this dirty man to tell me what to do with my body? No, listen. No. Should men or fathers have a say so? Some say no. Some say, well, you're not a man, so you don't get to put your laws on my body. Well, we just discussed that. Every law is on everybody. So that's not even a subject of the conversation. A father should have 50% of the say so on how that happens. When the parent makes that decision, it's not just up to the mother. I'm sorry. For you not to include the a father's rights in that, I'm sorry, then you are I think it should be 100% illegal for that decision to be made without the consent of the father. If the father is there and is going to be a part of that baby's life, and you know who the man is, then yeah, he should have a say so. If the man does not want that pregnancy terminated, I don't think that pregnancy should be terminated because that father helped make that baby. I mean, we always hear about, I believe it should always be between the mother and the doctor. I've never heard the father brought up in that conversation. Why is that? Why does that father not have a choice in the matter? You say you're for reproductive rights. Well, it takes a male and a female, I know what a concept, to conceive a child. So the reproductive rights also should extend to the father. But as long as this is a political issue, unfortunately, I think it's just going to be, it's going to have this polar opposite viewpoint. Like, the right's going to have one viewpoint, the left's going to have another viewpoint, and they're just going to butt heads. They're just going to be against each other. No one's going to want to try to see all the nuance that's there. And I think that's so unfortunate because we're talking about like lives. We're talking about ending lives, and for you not to look at all the nuance and look at all the different situations and all the different factors, I think you do a disservice to humanity, and that goes to the left and to the right. It would make me so happy if lawmakers and people who are having these debates could actually have a real conversation about it without throwing out these accusations and these accusations of wanting to control somebody's body, or the accusations that you're a baby killer or that you're a murderer. As long as we do that, then we're not going to make any progress, and needless pain is going to come from it. We're going to have lives taken that could have been, just the great, that could be the great presidents, or that could be the great inventors that saved humanity. And that same token, you have children that are going to be brought into the world that are not wanted and that are at a disadvantage from the moment of their birth. And I think these two worlds have to come together and find a way to make this something that's not about politics, that's not about demonizing the other, that's about actual true compassion and true positivity for the sake of all mankind. Well, we're going to end it here. I've got to say, this isn't really a subject that I've done a lot of research on. I do hear all the conversations about it, and I'm not trying to be some type of a scientist or try to say that I have all this depth of knowledge about the subject. I hear the conversations that are being had about it, and then I'm trying to figure out how we can actually have a real, fruitful, productive conversation. And I really think that there are certain guidelines, we like all the things that I've talked about here, that these things have to be a factor in having an actual conversation about the subject. And we can't just demonize other people just because they think differently than we do, and because they vote a certain way, so then everything they do is evil. It's just it's not healthy, and it doesn't help the situation at all. Well, if you enjoyed the video, or if you hated the video and you want to smear me, that's fine. Share it. Let me know your comments in the comments section. I'm looking forward to it. I do try to communicate with all my subscribers as much as possible. I have another channel that's like 10,500 subscribers, and I do communicate with them as much as possible. But this is a brand new channel, and as we're speaking right now, I only have like 31 or 32 subscribers, so it is still growing. So definitely help me out by sharing the content, making it available on whatever social media you have. I am out of here. See y'all later. Peace.